What's going on, guys? So far with Bitcoin, with the Bitcoin miners today, we are seeing a decent little recovery. An important level for Bitcoin was held up here. We'll talk about it. We've been talking about it, the 50 EMA on the weekly. After we went slightly under it, we did come back up to recover over it, but I don't think the battle is yet over. Now in this video, I want to talk about Bitcoin and that 50 EMA, but I also want to talk about liquidations and Cleanspark's mining update that was just released yesterday. First off, crypto liquidations. We've seen over $2 billion of liquidations as Bitcoin fell below 100K. And of course, ETH, a lot of the alts dropped sharply. Bitcoin is now back over 100,000 after that brief dip under, which is a good sign. It was quickly recovered. I do want to see how the rest of the week plays out, but so far Bitcoin is working on a recovery. Bitcoin fell under $100,000 for the first time since May. It's been multiple months. It finally dipped under 100,000 and buyers quickly stepped in. Ethereum saw one of its sharpest single day drops in recent months. And while crypto as a whole saw $2 billion worth of liquidations, Bitcoin saw $614 million worth of liquidations. Typically, when you see these large liquidations, whether it's to the upside or the downside, the market takes this liquidity out, and then we begin a different trend. High leverage created vulnerability during the latest market pullback. When people play with leverage, the market makers, the manipulators, they want to take that leverage out before we can move higher. Now, Bitcoin, while we did break under the 50 EMA, like we have in the past, here's the last time back in March here, where we did drop under the 50 EMA. After that retest, you get a test, a bounce, and then a retest, and then that rally to new all-time highs. We got that bounce. Here's that retest. We need to recover here. If we continue to show weakness, if we continue selling off, I think that would be a horrible sign. And as long as the 50 EMA can hold up, I think we can continue higher. But look at last cycle, back in 2021. We see it hold up, it continues running. It holds up, we continue running. It was once we broke it, then it became a resistance that the top was in. We never saw a higher high than that until the new cycle. So that 50 EMA on the weekly is very important that we hold up. If we break under it and find it as resistance, the cycle might be in fact over. Again, in the 2017 peak, we held it as a support. Once it broke under, became resistance, the top was in. While we have broken the 50 EMA in the past and found it as resistance, there and there, so far this cycle we have hit it and then bounced and retested and successfully held it. This is our moment of truth. Are we gonna bounce here and successfully hold it after this retest, or do we show further weakness? Does it play out different than the other past cycles where if we do find it as a resistance, does it recover shortly after? Another thing that might be important to watch here is the daily 50 and 200 EMA. We are getting very close to seeing a death cross. Bitcoin needs to recover and fast, otherwise we are going to see a death cross. Here's something very interesting though about death crosses that you might not know. Typically it's a bad indicator, it's a bad sign, it's a sign of further drop, it's a sign that things haven't been going well. Look at what happened last time we saw a death cross. That literally marked the bottom. It marked the actual low that time. April 8 right here. That was the death cross. That not just once, but again, the death cross. Here we are. We saw that pullback. Finally, the 50 dropped under the 200. That basically marked within days of the bottom. Look at that. That was the bottom there, that death cross. If we get a death cross, is this going to be our bottom? I think it could be. And let's see something. Right here, right here. Let's go to the weekly. Just like I expected, not only did we see that death cross, and that marked the bottom, but when we saw that death cross, we also got the bounce on the 50 moving average weekly. If we post the death cross and Bitcoin recovers above the 50 on the weekly, we will see what we have seen in the past, both times. The death cross on the daily, plus a bounce on the 50 on the weekly, and that's basically what marks the bottom. We might be near our bottom. Unless on the 50 on the weekly, Bitcoin finds it as resistance, I think we're heading higher. If we can just see what we have seen in the past. So I know there's fear right now, I know things seem bad right now, but we have seen this before. And Bitcoin, shortly after, rallied to new all-time highs. From there, from that amount of fear, everyone thinking the cycle's over, and then we rallied to new all-time highs. All that fear, thinking the cycle's over, we just saw a death cross on Bitcoin. Uh-oh, all-time highs. Plus, as others say, when in doubt, zoom out. Even if we're at our all-time high this cycle, unless you're literally about to retire, hold tight, and we will see new all-time highs for Bitcoin. While you definitely don't want to hold the proxies through a crypto winter, the Bitcoin miners, the MicroStrategies, so on and so forth, Bitcoin, in my opinion, could be a hold throughout crypto winter, accumulating, averaging down, knowing that Bitcoin will see new all-time highs. People bought this cycle highs thinking we're going to be stranded here forever. And then new all-time highs came. It did take some time. It took a wait. But if you accumulated through the pain, you brought your average down. You saw green quicker by averaging down. Just like this cycle. Some people bought the very, very top. And it sucks. They bought it at $20,000. Oh my God, $20,000 Bitcoin. I bought the top. It ran down to $3,000. As long as you averaged down, even if you didn't average down. But averaging down helped get you in the green quicker. If we are getting into a bear market, make sure to accumulate. Don't just buy the tops if you've been buying Bitcoin's top. Buy the pain, buy the fear. All right, my Bitcoin sermon is over. Let's look at Cleanspark. They did release their Bitcoin mining update. They also mentioned a little bit of AI news. Strategic partnership selected Summer as Cleanspark's as Cleanspark's first next-gen compute infrastructure partner. Of course, they hired Jeffrey Thomas recently, an industry veteran, leading their AI center development. They acquired 271 acres and secured 285 megawatts of long-term power agreements near Houston for a dedicated AI center. As said by Matt Schultz, their CEO, founder, this is an incredibly exciting time for Cleanspark. We've laid the foundation for our next phase of growth, selected our first strategic infrastructure partner, and secured land and power contracts for a dedicated AI data center. These milestones show that we're not just talking about growth, we're executing it. While Bitcoin remains an integral part of our business, we're equally focused on developing large-scale data centers that will power the next generation of innovation across the digital world. As we continue to maximize the megawatts across our portfolio, it's essential that we operate as one integrated data center business, said the CFO, Gary V. The cash flows from our mining operations, along with the strength of our strategic treasury and the non-dilutive capital it enables, position us to invest confidently in our growing AI capabilities. Our business has been built for this moment. In October, they produced 612 Bitcoin. Their single day Bitcoin peak production was 20.4. Their average daily production was 19.75. So far this year, they have produced 6,537 Bitcoin. Imagine producing 19 Bitcoin a day at $100,000 Bitcoin. They're basically pulling in right around 2 million per day in terms of revenue from their Bitcoin if it ends up being sold. That is quite impressive. Hash rate of 50 exahash, operating hash rate of 46.6, efficiency of 16.07. Their deployed fleet is 240,000. Soon, 500,000 machines will be under their fleet. That is insane. I remember when they had like 50,000. I remember when they weren't even a Bitcoin mining business yet, and they were talking about microgrids. And way back when, back in 2020, starting to talk about getting into Bitcoin mining and being the prime company to do so because of their energy expertise and background. Bitcoin holdings, 13,033. Bitcoin sold in the month, 589. So they sold the vast majority of their Bitcoin this month. I personally think that's not a horrible idea. Shoring up some cash for a future AI expansion, a Bitcoin mining expansion, not utilizing shares and dilution, but utilizing their operations as they said they are working on and trying their best to do, to not be dilutive. They made almost $65 million off that Bitcoin in just a single month, with an average price sold of $110,000. Now, Cleanspark on a chart standpoint isn't looking the best. It's in a downtrend, a clear descending channel. We need to break this trend. We need to break up over this descending resistance. We went from this clear uptrend to now this clear downtrend. This trend needs to change. I think it's all up to not only Bitcoin, but the AI segment in general. Do we start seeing the AI related stocks pop again? Cleanspark could be caught up in that hype. One thing that's nice, but I like to see on larger term time frames, such as the 4-hour, the daily, etc. Cleanspark's RSI has been seeing higher lows in general, while its price has been still falling. This is a divergence. It's on the 1 hour, so it's not that substantial, but we are seeing the RSI starting to try to pick up from its lows from that point of oversold, while the price has been continuing to drop. But I think one thing you want to see really is a break of this downtrend. We need to break this clear trend, this clear resistance. We have wicked out of it on the hourly, you can see, but it gets rejected. We do have a resistance slash support area. The market hasn't always utilized it, but there are times that it has. For example, right now we're just sitting at it. If we can get a bounce here at this roughly 1650, that would be fantastic. We have found this area as a resistance zone. There was times that the market didn't really react to it or tried to regain it, then drop, regain, drop. But on that, we did get a definitive drop where we got a big sell-off, and regaining it, you did see it run quite a bit. But it was very choppy at this point. But going back to 2019, you can see that once we broke this support area, you saw a big reaction on the drop. Once we regained it, you saw a continued big reaction on the holding of this area. And again, you see a massive drop once this didn't hold. You saw it try to hold. You saw this kind of bounce right here. Tried to hold, but we saw a big reaction on the drop. I think 1650 is somewhat important. There are times that the market really reacts on it if we hold or break under it. There are times that the market doesn't really react on it, but 1650 I think is an important area. If that breaks, the $14 area is another important support. We had a resistance on it right here. Once we broke to the upside on it, it did hold up as a support. Once you drop it, you got down, saw a sell-off, and it was resistance right here. Once we broke it, we saw a clear reaction. If we break 1650, watch for 1450. That could be a good entry point. But for now, you might want to avoid adding to Cleanspark. Keep an eye on its trend. Watch for a break of the trend. Right now, it's clearly in a descending channel. Now, how are you guys feeling today? It looks like we're having a decent little recovery day. Bitcoin is trying to hold over that 50 MA on the weekly, which is a very important level. If we do break it and it becomes a resistance and we start getting into the crypto winter, it's going to be time to add to Bitcoin again. Time to load up on even maybe the proxies. Start accumulation during bad times. One thing with Bitcoin is every cycle you're always going to see new, higher, never before seen prices, and every cycle bottom, every crypto winter low is going to be higher than the previous crypto winter lows. Our low in the beginning of this cycle was 15K. Our high in the cycle before that was right around 20K, and our low in that cycle was about 3,000. Every cycle you'll see higher all-time highs, obviously, and you'll see higher lows. Where do you guys think Bitcoin ends up in this potential crypto winter? Do we come down to 50, 60, 70K? Do we come down to the previous cycle peak, the 2021 peak? Typically, in the bear market, you drop right around the previous peak. For example, in the 2017 peak, we saw 20K. In the 2022 bear market, we saw 15K. As long as you have a long-term approach with Bitcoin, you can't lose. Of course, the proxies can be rough. You don't necessarily want to hold them into crypto winter. You want to be taking profits while times are good. That's why I've been preaching. It's time to be trimming. It's time to slowly be trimming into the strength, into the good days. But anyways, how are you guys feeling about Bitcoin? Do you think we're going to break that 50 MA and it becomes resistance? Or do we hold it up and go to all-time highs throughout November, December like we have in typical cycles? All previous cycles we have seen that. How are you feeling about Cleanspark's Bitcoin mining update / AI update? Sometimes these massive liquidations can be a good thing because it shakes out the leverage and then Bitcoin does go higher. So the market doesn't have to reward those with leverage to the upside. Instead, it wipes them out and then lets the market rally. The best thing you can do with Bitcoin is have a long-term mindset, because if things don't go your way short-term, if things don't go as planned short-term, there is always Bitcoin's long-term that will always go much, much higher, and previous crypto winters prices we will never see again. So always accumulate during the bad times, accumulate during the crypto winters, because many times, many cases, those prices are never seen again in the future cycles. But thanks as always for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next one.